Well, my first name's Dale, last name is Schroff, and I generally direct the big band. You know, I've been doing this since 2000. Actually, this is the 20th year. There are other groups that have they've stopped and reorganized and all that kind of stuff, but I think we're probably at least one of the oldest continuously performing groups in the state. It was organized for the Silverton Centennial Celebration, which was in 1952 or 3. It's been in existence and actually functioning since that time. One of the things that we have to be careful of, and when I choose music, this is important, is that we don't have the complete instrumentation. So when I choose stuff, I have to kind of look at that. So that's a consideration as far as choosing music, but I think we play almost a lot of different genres. We rehearse every Monday night, 7 till 9, and we rehearse in Silverton at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Pretty much anybody can join the group, and there's no audition required to join the group. I mean, we can't take beginners. Some of the people that come are people that played years ago, so we give them a chance to kind of get back without a lot of pressure. The only requirement is that you need to examine yourself and say to yourself, do I have a certain level of performance? Will I be able to play it if I work at it? Yeah. Well, I'll come get them next Monday. Ready?
I'm Jeff Zenz, and I'm a tenor sax player in the Marion County Citizens Band, and also I play tenor sax with the Willamette Valley Jazz Saxophone Quartet. I actually didn't really have any choice about being involved in music because both my parents were musicians. I started playing piano in 6th grade when my mom decided it was time for me to sit down at the piano bench. And then in 7th grade, it was time for instrumental music. I started as a woodwind player. My dad was a brass player, but I didn't want to play trumpet. So I started with clarinet like every woodwind player does, and ended up moving into the saxes, alto sax to start with, and then tenor. My high school band director told my dad that he needed an oboe player. Then I became an oboist. In the jazz ensemble, he needed a string bass player, so my dad decided I was going to be a string bass player. I ended up going back to the sax family of instruments, and that's kind of where I stayed.
What is your name and what is your role in the community band?
Stephanie Russell. And I either play flute or saxophone, depending on what the director wants me to play. In my family, it was not, do you want to play an instrument? It was, which one do you want to play? My cousin, who was going into high school, didn't want to play anymore, and she had a flute. So I got it. I was 9. My mother gave me a book and a tape recorder and said, there you go. So I just started in. I played at church. I played whenever, and then, of course, when 5th grade, when band started, I just kept going.
I started in the 5th grade. I started playing tenor. And I played tenor all the way through high school. When I was like a junior in high school, the band director wanted me to play bassoon. And so I started on bassoon. Played bassoon as my major instrument through college. And baritone sax, actually, in the stage band. And then I had my tenor saxophone was mine, was actually the most popular saxophone in the world at the time I bought it. It was a Selmer Series 6.
My wife and I moved out to Oregon from the Midwest in 2003. I was looking for a jazz ensemble, and I got the Chemeketa school catalog. There was a class for jazz ensemble. So I called Dale and I said, tell me about this jazz ensemble. And he said, it's really not a jazz ensemble. It's really a concert band, but we do play some jazz numbers. And that was in 2004.
I've been playing in the band since 1991. Being part of the band has just been, for 30 years almost for me. I've been doing it, playing and directing. It's always been fun.
Bob Dedrick kept calling me saying, hey, well, my kids would play sports, and so he was an announcer, and he would come up. He said, when are you going to play for the band? I'm like, I got all this, I'm too busy. When they were done, graduated, I said, well, I don't have anything to do on Monday nights now.
Have there been other community activities that you've participated in other than the band?
Well, you know, I have church activities, but as far as music and arts, no, it's always just been mostly the band. I've sung in usually wherever we went to church, I was in the choir. For a long time, the church we were going to, I played saxophone on what they called the worship team. Yeah, it's been 10 or 12 years since I've sung in church choirs. So right now, it's just basically the band and the quartet.
What we currently call the Willamette Valley Jazz Sax Quartet started out just as 4 musicians that would go over to Dale's house every week or every other week and just make music. We started building up a fairly big music library between Dale and I. We just, we found some songs from different composers and different arrangers, and we just started buying music. And boy, that was probably 6 or 7 years ago when that first started. And the membership of the quartet has changed. Dale and I are the only 2 original members. There was a layoff. There was, that was during COVID, and we didn't do much in terms of the quartet. I think we got going pretty hot and heavy again, and it's a pretty good group. It's a pretty tight group. Play some pretty fun music. We got to the point where we were able to offer some public performances, which we're still doing. And for me, it's just another opportunity to get my horn out and make some good music.
Also, the same, you get different music. It's a little tighter. You can hear each other's mistakes. There too, you can play in different venues, and it's just being part of a group. I used to be a part of a flute choir that was out of Dallas, and this gal had an alto flute and a bass flute. We would share or play the parts whenever there was a piece of music to do that. So it ended up being, there were only about 5 of us to start maybe, but it grew, and there were several of us that would sit around this lady's living room, this little flute choir, and we had a blast. And then we played at the Capitol building. We just told people, hey, there's this flute choir, why don't you come and just play Christmas carols? And so literally there were 50 people showed up, and in the Capitol building with all these flutes, it sounded wonderful.
What benefits do you see in someone picking up and learning an instrument?
Well, I think there are a lot of benefits. Honestly, it's something that if you wish to, you can continue for the rest of your life. It's a very satisfying sort of a thing. It's fun to play especially fun to play in a group, because there's a group dynamic that's really pleasing. If you play an instrument, and at any whatever level you play, you can find somewhere to be a part of a group.
The aesthetic benefit, the ability to play music and to be associated with group of people. This is going to sound ridiculous, but to be in the same group of people as like Mozart or Beethoven, who's composer and a performer of music, that's special. To be able to offer music to other people who are not fortunate enough to be musicians, that's really a treat.
Well, and one of the things I asked my brother, who was a music teacher, I said, why can't you have music history or theory or music appreciation and performance? So you can have a music class. Why does it have to be performance in school? Music is not just about performance.
The directing is fine. Directing is good. I do enjoy it, but I enjoy playing too. I'd like to have somebody else who could take over, and one of these days they're going to have to. Then I could sit and play.
If you want to be a part of something, of course, I guess at work you can find out, what kind of music do you like? Do you play an instrument? And you can actually find out what other people do. And then you get to know somebody, and then they say, hey, we got a gig over here. You want to come with us? So it's literally about talking to people, getting in the community.
An adult who has never been involved with music before in their life, it is never too late. My wife, she started, like I said, 10 or 12 years ago, whenever it was, playing piano, and she practices every day. She's religious about practicing. She's convinced that it helps her keep mental focus. So being involved in music is an asset. It is worth every minute of time that you spend practicing. You don't even have to perform publicly. Just being able to make music and to play some of the compositions that really great composers who came long before we did. I mean, it kind of puts you in a select group of people who've been playing the same kind of music for decades or centuries. It's absolutely worthwhile.
The whole taste and sensitivity thing just kind of came about as a little bit of a joke to say, you guys are playing way too loud, so let's try to have be sensitive, a little taste. So it kind of became a little bit of a joking byword kind of a thing.